Hi everyone, it's Wendy coming at you with another What I Eat in a Day video. So of course, I'll be showing you what I'm eating today, and I'll also take you along to show you what else I'm up to today. I've already gotten quite a bit done this morning. You can see there behind me on the counter, I have some food prepped over there. I also ran some errands this morning. So I'll take you back and show you what I've already done today, and then we'll get into what I'm eating today. Normally, I start my day with yoga. And recently, I've started taking a quick walk in the morning just to get my day going. I decided to add this into my routine so I would get a little bit of sunshine every morning to help wake me up. Today, I wanted to get to the farmer's market early, so I skipped my yoga and went for my walk. In addition to getting sunshine, the other thing I love about my morning walks is seeing all of the animals. I see Canadian geese, turtles, deer, and tons of bunnies. After my walk, I had a cup of tea before I headed out. This is the same tea I've talked about in other videos. It's the decaffeinated ground sencha from a company called Say Me Tea. After that, I headed to the farmer's market, and I'm really surprised they already have tomatoes. Usually we don't get those until later in the year, but I found some beautiful cherry tomatoes. But the real reason I went to the farmer's market was for these beauties. These are oyster mushrooms, and my mom and I are going to cook with them later today. After the farmer's market, I had to drop a book off at the library and stop by the post office, and then I headed back home. Then, before I even got my breakfast, I threw something together quickly for lunch. I'm heading to my parents' house later today, so I wanted to get something together really quickly. Using up some ingredients from my pantry and my freezer, I decided to throw together a sort of chili type thing. So I rinsed off a cup of red lentils and about a half a cup of quinoa. That's going in my Instant Pot along with some red onion that I had chopped and frozen. I'm using about a cup. And then I also had about a cup left of some frozen corn. Then I'm adding in some spices, and I will put a link below the video with all of the measurements, but I have some chili powder, smoked paprika, dried parsley. Whenever I'm making any kind of chili, I would usually put tomato paste in there, but I actually don't have any right now. So instead, I'm adding some of this sun-dried tomato powder. It adds tons of concentrated tomato flavor. I also have a little granulated onion and garlic, and then I'm adding about 5 cups of water, and finally a can of crushed tomatoes. I cooked that at high pressure for 4 minutes and then let it natural release. Now that I have the Instant Pot going, it's finally time to make my breakfast. I'm making a cabbage smoothie with red cabbage, apples which I had chopped and frozen, and some frozen cherries. I'm also adding a piece of fresh ginger, and I'm blending it with soy milk and water. One of my favorite things about making a cabbage smoothie is they make the most beautiful colors. And then normally I also have oatmeal, but today I'm having leftover peach pie teff porridge. I'll put a link to my video with this recipe. I shared 3 different porridge recipes, and this peach pie porridge is by far my favorite. So I'm just microwaving this to heat it up, and then I'm adding some flaxseed, and I'll have it with my smoothie. Now that I'm finished with breakfast, I'll go ahead and make a quick salad to go with the chili that I plan to have for lunch. I'm using mixed greens that I got from my CSA, along with cucumbers, celery, tomatoes, and I'm also going to chop up an orange. So I'll put this in a storage container to take over to my parents' house later. And then my Instant Pot is done cooking, so I'll go ahead and put that away. I went ahead and put 1 serving in a to-go cup. I'm putting the rest of it in a glass container so I can keep it in the fridge to eat later this week. I also have enough to freeze a little bit, so I'm using my super cubes, which are really handy. This one has 1 and 2 cup measurements, so it's really easy for portioning it out. While that was cooling, I got some work done on the computer, answering comments on YouTube videos, and getting some things ready to post. And then I decided to do a little bit of yoga. Since I skipped it this morning, I did want to get a little bit of stretching in, so I just did a few gentle stretches. And after that, I'll head over to my parents' house to hang out for the afternoon. Hey everyone, it's Wendy from the future, interrupting this What I Eat in a Day video for a little bit of a life update, which is not something that I do very often because honestly, I'm kind of boring. And what you see in these What I Eat in a Day videos is pretty much what I do every day. You know, I do a little bit of yoga, a little bit of work, a little bit of exercise, and a lot of food. And that's pretty much what I do every day. I rarely deviate from that routine, and that's the way I like it. But I do have a little bit of an update that I wanted to share with you all. If you've been following me for a while, you may have heard me say things like life has been really stressful and hectic and chaotic, and I've been spending a lot of time with my parents, and I've been short on time. Of course, everyone has stressful times, but I just wanted to explain with you what was going on. Several months ago, my father suffered from a series of strokes, And if you've ever had a stroke or been near someone who has, you know that it can completely turn your life upside down. So that's why I've been spending a lot of time with my parents. Now, I live about a mile away from my parents, and they're actually basically like my best friends. So I was already going over there at least once a week, but now I pretty much go over there every day. And it's not because they necessarily need me to be there every day, but when something like this happens, you know, we're all aware of it, but it just hits you over the head that we don't know how much time we have. So whatever time I do have, I want to spend as much of it as possible with the people I love. So that's why I'm going over to my parents' house so often. So that's what I wanted to share with you all, and I'm sure some of you are wondering what my dad's diet looks like. Well, my mom and dad actually switched to a whole food plant-based lifestyle shortly after I did. So of course a stroke is devastating when it happens to anyone, but you can imagine we were especially angry and frustrated because we wondered, why is this happening to us? We're doing all the right things. But the thing is, bad things still happen. As wonderful as a whole food plant-based diet is, it's not a cure-all. And you can't expect to undo a lifetime of damage in just a couple of years. It's really easy to dwell on the negative and that question of why? Why did this happen? But I've been trying really hard to focus on the positive instead, because we've seen so many positive benefits. Since going plant-based, my mom and dad have each lost over 50 pounds. They've both gotten off of cholesterol, blood pressure, and diabetes medications. My dad has also had to take thyroid hormone, and that's something that's never supposed to get better. But it appears that his thyroid is actually starting to make its own hormone again, so he's had to cut that prescription down. And probably the most miraculous thing that's happened for my dad is he had some GI condition. The doctors didn't really have a diagnosis for it. They weren't really sure what was going on, but whatever it was causing my dad to be severely anemic. There would be some days where he almost couldn't get out of bed, he was so tired. And when that happened, he would have to get iron infusions. He was getting these iron infusions at least every 3 months. Since going plant-based, he hasn't had a single one. So it's been 3 years since his last iron infusion. So yes, bad things happen, but we can look at all these amazing things that happened as well. So that's why I'm still convinced that a whole food plant-based diet is the optimal diet, and I'm so glad that we changed our diet when we did. If we hadn't switched to this whole food plant-based lifestyle, I'm certain that my dad would have had a much worse outcome. And in fact, he might not be here with us. If it wasn't for the stroke, it might have been any of his other chronic conditions. I truly believe that my dad is still with us because we switched our lifestyle. So this is just a reminder to all of you to go spend some time with your loved ones and do whatever you can to live the healthiest life possible so you can enjoy all of those moments with your families. So with that, let's get back into my What I Eat in a Day video. After I finished my little bit of yoga, I headed over to my parents and I brought my lunch that I had prepped earlier. To my salad, I added some of my mom's salad dressing. I shared that recipe with you a few weeks ago and I'll put a link for that. And I also added some pumpkin seeds and hemp seeds. With the chili, I also had a purple sweet potato. My mom also had some watermelon, so I enjoyed that along with my lunch as well. My dad has been craving blueberry pie for months, but we haven't been able to get around to making one. But today, my mom and I finally decided to bake a blueberry pie. We're using the recipe by Jill Dalton over at the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show. She makes some of the most delicious whole food plant-based desserts. I've been wanting to try her pie crust for a really long time. She makes it using white sweet potato and almond flour. And I love sweet potatoes, so I was really excited to try it. And it turned out so well. It was very much like a traditional pie crust. Then of course we have blueberries, and this pie has a crumble topping. We altered the crumble just a little bit, adding some oats to it, which were not part of the original recipe. So we baked that and let it cool, and we're gonna have this after dinner. For dinner, we're making my sweet and sour chickpeas. I'll put a link for this recipe as well. And this is the recipe that uses those oyster mushrooms that I got at the farmer's market this morning. This week in our CSA, we also got some broccolini, which is also in this recipe. And I realized that today I truly am eating the rainbow. I had that beautiful purple cabbage smoothie with the red cherries, the beautiful greens in my salad at lunch, the vibrant purple sweet potato, the reddish pink watermelon, and then of course we have some blue coming with that blueberry pie later. And then this stir fry almost has all the colors of the rainbow. The green broccolini, a red bell pepper, yellow pineapple, and purple onions. We used a little bit more veggies than the recipe calls for, and so our skillet was piled high. We really probably should have used a larger pot, but we made it work, and we served this along with brown rice and topped it with some sesame seeds. I had another salad with my dinner, and then of course we had that blueberry pie. I'm so glad my dad requested it because it was so very delicious. After dinner, we played a game of Parcheesi. This is one of the things we've been doing regularly now, playing different kinds of games or putting puzzles together and just spending time together. My dad's always been kind of a lucky guy, so he tends to win every night. My mom and I occasionally win, but my dad is by far the champion. And that's about it. After this, I'll head home and go to bed. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.